सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज.
The miseries of material existence and the most hopeless conditions of life is the best possible opportunity to turn to God.
You're listening to Bare Knuckle Bhakti Shorties on the Bhakti Recovery Podcast with Jiva G, coming at you every Monday with a little spiritual something. Good morning from Berlin City on my balcony. Not so windy today, so I should hope that we're not going to have windy problems. We're on the fourth step. Those who have listened to step 1, 2, and 3, congratulations, you're at step 4. And those who are just tuning in now, congratulations, you're at step 4. And you can always look back to the previous 3 podcasts for the previous steps. So, step 4. We made a fearless and searching inventory of ourselves. We made a searching and fearless inventory of ourselves. This is probably, they say in the program that the 6th step separates the men from the boys, so to speak. I don't feel like sorry about that if anyone's gender sensitive. I think we all know what that means. It's the tough work, and us women can be very tough, even tougher actually, but I don't want to get into all of that. Step 4 is getting to the root of all the root. The thing is we have this incredible opportunity in this body right now with all of our sense attachments, all of the attachments that we've had, everything that we're given as a human being, desires, attachments, sexual desires, sense pleasure desires, all of those things that, money desires, all material desires. And they are all there actually to help us in service of God. Believe it or not. Many of us have to learn a hard lesson there, though, because not only are they the reason why we have them, they are there for our survival. But due to karmic reactions, they have been completely warped by illusion. Our instinct to survive, our very absolute animalistic instincts to survive have been just so warped. They've turned into fear and insecurity. And actually this whole society is geared towards that. Let's get a little bit bigger. This whole planet is a planet of illusion. And it is actually, I am in the belief, by design so. And this is why we're here. We're here in order to be able to balance the instincts, these God-given instincts that we have, in order to see Him through all of this. This is a big chunk to contemplate and to really understand that. So the 4th step is going through all of those illusionary fears and hurts and all the reactions that we have because we are under the illusion of Maya. And then our reactions are as such that we act out of fear Fear of losing something or fear of not getting what we want. And that's where the 4-step helps us see that. It slowly uncovers those fears. The fears of losing what we have, the fears of not getting what we want, the control that we think we have. And many of these things come out all of these things come out in our relationships. Every single one of them come out in our relationships. In our relationships, and very first to ourselves. And the relationship with ourself is a very interesting thing if we kind of pick it apart. We have Paramatma in our hearts. Paramatma in our hearts. Part and partial of Krishna. True love of God in our hearts. And we can only have that kind of relationship, an honest, loving, caring, understanding relationship with that Paramatma, if the conditions are, if we lose our conditioning. Here we go, guys. And this is where we're going to pick this apart. We can only reflect contingent upon the glasses we're wearing through our conditions. This is like, sometimes for a lot of us, it's like we're the characters on the screen we're the cartoon characters on the screen trying to, discussing and thinking about who created the screen. And that's a very hard thing to do. So, if we're not clear about our conditionings, the layers of things that get in the way of Paramatma, that get in the way of our love of God, that get in the way of the divine, if we're not clear about them, we can't really ask Krishna to remove them. And we can't work on anything. If we don't know what we have, we can't work on it. If we don't know a goal, we can't hit it. We can be running around everywhere, but if we have a goal, we can do certain things in order to get there. And that's what the 4-step is about. Because we have taken the first step of admittance of powerlessness and unmanageability, we have come to believe that Krishna can restore us to sanity in the 2nd step. And then in the 3rd step, we have definitely made that conscious decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of Krishna as we understand him. And this is the veil. This is the understanding part, is that we need to understand also in the 4th step that we can only understand Krishna as Krishna is. The closer we get to Paramatma and away from our illusions and away from our attachments and away from the things that will constantly get in the way of our relationship with God and ourselves. Now, the second part of that relationships, when I was saying this is a relationship thing in the 4th step, is our relationship to others. And through our fears, through our control issues, through our codependencies, through our addictions, through all of these things, we don't have healthy relationships. How can we have a healthy relationship if we're just in a partnership and we're constantly have a fear of abandonment, or one of us has a constant fear of economic insecurities, or one has a constant sex addiction, or one is constantly using drugs and completely absent. How are we supposed to have those kind of healthy relationships if we're not healthy? We got to get right. We got to get right with ourselves and our maker. Now, that's a lifelong thing. It's not like, okay, we did the 4 steps, now we're cleansed. I mean, that's why we continue with the steps, and that's why we continue on Krishna conscious path. The 4th step is really the very first time that we're able to look at these things exactly for what they are. So important. AA has a very specific way of doing their steps. Adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families have also a specific way of doing their steps. NA has a certain way. Narcotics Anonymous has a specific way of doing their steps. And they all have slight differences, but they all have one common thread, and that's through our conditionings. Let's say if you're like the classic garden variety alcoholic, yeah, you're just a classic alcoholic. You're going to have classic alcoholic characteristics: selfishness, egocentric. You'll probably have hurt a lot of people on the way. There are some friendly alcoholics, but when it gets into the way later stages, you can be a real SOB. And there's a specific 4-step that alcoholics do: listing your resentments, listing your behaviors, listing the things that, hey, Joe Schmo did this. It angered me. Why? And then what was my part in it? ACA is similar, except for it's a little more delicate than that, because we, as ACA, as adult children, we have other issues. But when it all boils down to it, actually, fear is the core. And people are conditioned differently to act upon that fear or act upon that control. If you grew up in a household where you had absolutely no control over your parents' feelings or over your parents' abuse, or you just were raised in a highly dysfunctional family where everybody was throwing tantrums. That was kind of my family. You have no control and you become fearful. I grew up in fear. A lot of fear of just existential security. And that leaves lasting impressions, lasting fear, which I carry to this day. And I've done multiple 4 steps. And believe me, every 5 years, AA say you only do it once. Most people in AA say you just do it once and that's it. As I grow, I feel that there are certain things that are uncovered. And so for me, it's really important to work on that. New stuff comes up, new layers, new conditionings, and especially with Krishna consciousness, my sight starts to get very, very, I would say, broad and at the same time very poignant. Is that a word? I don't even know what that word is. I don't even know what I meant by that. I just mean I can't think of the word in English. I'm sorry, guys. It just becomes really conceated. We start to know what we're talking about. We start to know what we're thinking about. We start to reflect, and it starts to unfold. Things start to unfold. And sometimes we're very willing and ready to do that work. And sometimes we just would like to brush it under the carpet, and that's understandable. But let me tell you something. That work brings us to the next level. It's worth every single bit. We cannot know what we have, all the skeletons in our closet, all our fears, all of those things. We will carry that through our lives. And if we don't name it and we don't list them with a sponsor, someone who's done that before, we'll constantly have the same thing manifesting in other areas. Fearless and moral inventory of ourselves. If we don't like the word moral, just put fearless and honest. All we need is willingness. Honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. If we're ready to do that, I would encourage each and every one of us to do it. We need to squarely look at those things right in the eye. So I guess that's the fourth step. And we made a list. We make that list of our resentments, our fears, what our part in it is. And that's sort of the opening of the door to be able to see the world through different glasses. Okay, my friends, I wish I could have said more about it, but I feel like I've said everything, and I feel like I've said everything that I need to say about it. It's a big step. I would encourage every single person, if you want to know more about it, to read in the program that you specifically identify with. Not as, but with. All of them have a slightly different language, a slightly different flavor. Even the Bhakti Recovery Group. I mean, I'm working on that workbook now anyway, so it will be a certain flavor with a Bhakti flavor. It will be the 12 steps with a Bhakti flavor. And I encourage everyone to find the one that resonates with them. It doesn't have to be the BRG. It doesn't have to be AA. It doesn't have to be NA. It doesn't have to be ACA. All of them. Or it can be all of them, because they're all so incredibly life-changing. So next week, we will be doing step 5, which is after that we do that inventory of ourselves, our searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. After that, we share that with ourselves, God, and another human being, the exact nature of those conditionings, the exact nature of those conditionings. This is so important because that teaches us to get humble in front of our maker, in front of another human being, and mostly in front of ourselves. That's the recognition. That's taking responsibility for the actions moving forward. And that's what we need to do. We need to start taking responsibility of the actions moving forward. Holding ourselves accountable. Saying that in front of ourselves, that God and another human being is so powerful. But we will talk about that next week. All right, my friends, I wish you a wonderful week, and we'll see you soon. Hare Krishna. Thanks for listening. I hope you liked the Monday Shorties. Don't forget to check out our full-length episodes on Thursdays. If you like what you heard, spread the word. Peace out.
सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज.
The miseries of material existence and the most hopeless conditions of life is the best possible opportunity to turn to God.